here to talk today about gambling regulation and to discuss the scale of the problem. There is clear evidence that current regulations of the gambling industry are not adequate in protecting people from harm, including children and young people. Figures published by the Gambling Commission this October found that 1.4 million people in Britain have a gambling problem. This issue is not spread equally. Young men aged 25 to 34 are most affected, with 5.5% of that cohort experiencing at least moderate risk gambling. And rates are much higher in more deprived communities, with men in the most deprived areas twice as likely to be moderate risk gamblers compared to those in more well-off areas. Evidence suggests, whilst many people gamble a bit, the vast majority of profits derived by gambling firms come from a small number of gamblers. The House of Lords Gambling Industry Select Committee found that 60% of the industry's profits came from just 5% of the customers who were either problem gamblers or at risk. Recent Gambling Commission figures also show the harms caused by gambling increasingly being experienced by children, with the proportion of young people being exposed to significant harms more than doubling between 2023 and 2024. Moreover, the harms caused by gambling are not isolated to the individuals who take part. When it reaches a harmful level, it can have huge, devastating impacts for families and right across communities in every constituency. Gambling is linked to addiction, debt and other serious harms, and it can negatively impact mental health, physical health, relationships, finances, employment and education. But unlike other harmful industries, it is comparatively less regulated and not taxed to directly reflect the harms it causes. In my home patch of Witney, Oxfordshire County Council identified gambling addiction as a key risk factor in their recently updated suicide prevention strategy. And research by Gambling with Lives, a charity established in 2018 by families bereaved by gambling suicides, shows that shockingly there are hundreds of gambling-related suicides each year, an average of around one each day. For the public purse, the impact is also significant. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research has found that a person experiencing problem gambling leads to an additional £3,700 spend per year on higher welfare payments, healthcare and criminal justice costs, and the costs of homelessness. A research report from the University of Oxford by Dr. Naomi Muggleton showed that as many as 1 in 4 gamblers are harmed. This is also an industry which continues to develop rapidly, and we need regulation to keep pace and remain fit for purpose. To quote the Lancet Public Health Commission on Gambling, published in 2024, digitalisation has transformed the production and operation of commercial gambling. The commercial gambling industry has also developed strong partnerships in media and social media. Sponsoring and partnering with professional sports organisations provides gambling operators with marketing opportunities with huge new audiences. So they conclude gambling poses a threat to public health, the control of which requires a substantial expansion and tightening of gambling industry regulation. So what should we do? First, we should limit the impact of gambling advertising, marketing and sponsorship, especially the extent to which children and young people are exposed to it. The industry spends £2 billion on gambling advertising a year, and they would not be putting that money in without a high degree of certainty that it will do more than pay back in terms of profits. And of the £2 billion, 80% is spent online, which is why children so often come across gambling and gambling companies. Research undertaken by the Gambling Commission found that 34% of British bettors admitted to being influenced by advertising, 16% stated that ads caused them to increase their gambling, and research published this year found that 96% of people aged 11 to 24 have seen gambling marketing messages in the month before the study and were more likely to bet as a result. On Twitter or X alone, there are more than 1 million gambling ads in the UK a year. Football matches are saturated by gambling ads, with thousands of gambling messages during the opening weekend of the English Premier League alone across various channels. Many of our neighbours have taken action on this. In 2018, Italy banned all online advertising of gambling products. Spain added strong restrictions in 2020. Germany did the same in 2021. The Netherlands and Belgium likewise in 2023. And Finland and Sweden are set to implement restrictions in 2027. By contrast, Here in the UK, the 2023 White Paper on Reforming Gambling in the Digital Age acknowledged the harm caused by marketing, but opted to continue with a mostly self-regulatory approach. Well, we can all rest assured in that case. I think such an approach means a huge amount of harm will continue, and I therefore urge the Minister to look again at this, given the damage both the sector does and the action already taken by others to mitigate it in their countries. This has strong public support too, with polling showing that 51% of people think all gambling advertising, promotion and sponsorship should be banned, and 78% of the public think that nobody under the age of 18 should be exposed to it. Secondly, underpinning all of this, we need a statutory, independent gambling ombudsman with real power, exactly as my friend has just stated. This was recommended in the 2023 Gambling White Paper and was intended to be established and operational within 12 months, and yet no progress has been made. I also understand the government has asked, of all people, the gambling industry to come up with ideas on how the ombudsman should be run, a case of poacher and gamekeeper as ever there was one. If this is the case, is the government really serious about setting up an ombudsman with effective powers which it actually uses? I ask the Minister to please clarify what steps are being taken regarding achieving this. Thirdly, another area where our regulation has a disconnect is licensing frameworks. Pubs are licensed by local authorities. Licensing for vape shops is currently under consideration with the introduction of the Tobacco and Vapes Bill, requiring retailers to obtain a personal licence to sell these products and a premises licence for storage and sale. Given this, why do local authorities not have the powers they need to prevent new gambling premises opening? We should be reviewing and implementing the relevant commitments from the 2023 Gambling White Paper, which seek to strengthen local authority discretion and better reflect community harm. I welcome an update from the Minister on plans to review the recommendations made in the White Paper and progress them. Finally, I want to end by saying I welcome the Chancellor's decision to increase gaming duty in last week's budget. This was an important step. I would now encourage the Government to consider directing some of the revenue raised from this towards taking steps better to regulate the industry and reduce the personal and social harms it contributes to in the long term. Thank you.